The biggest culprit climate change is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere causing the greenhouse effect. Thousands of specialists across the world are struggling to find the solutions to remove carbon from the atmosphere and effectively store it. The Dutch startup Sky3, for example, produces filtration columns which swallow the air and separate CO2 molecules. They then store this CO2 until it's needed. One column is able to collect up to 200 kilograms of CO2 daily. But that's of course a drop in the ocean, given that human activities release millions of tons of greenhouse gases every day. Can you imagine how many such columns would we need to make an impact? Maybe there is a way to remove a large portion of CO2 from our atmosphere at once. Some scientists propose a method allowing to remove billions of tons of carbon dioxide, or even all of it released from the beginning of Industrial Revolution, and remove it in a very short term, say a couple of decades. They call it Olivine weathering. Sounds unclear? No worries, I will explain. But before we start, a very quick reminder to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Arthur Brickman, this is Sustainable Channel. Let's go! Okay, olivine weathering. What the hell is that? Let's start with olivine. This is one of the most widespread minerals on planet Earth. It consists of silicates of magnesium and iron, usually has green color and appears as a result of volcanic activity. Several research found that 1 kilo of olivine can take up to 1 kilo of CO2 and then store it for thousands of years by transforming into sedimentary rocks like marble. The best performance is for olivine made of magnesium in a warm seawater. CO2 reacts with olivine, creating carbonates, which are very stable and can store carbon for millennia. It helps capture and store some amounts of carbon dioxide with no efforts from people. But of course, natural weathering is unable to absorb all the amount of CO2 released by the humankind every year. That's why it amasses in the atmosphere. Some specialists consider olivine is the salvation from climate change. Look, it's very widespread, efficient and easy to extract. If we disperse olivine dust in the ocean, it will absorb huge amounts of CO2 dissolved in its water, therefore reduce its acidity and save marine life, especially coral reefs, from extinction. How many advantages! However, we have to think about some things and figures. Annual CO2 emissions are 38.5 billion tons, or gigatons. Around 15 gigatons will be absorbed by ecosystems and 2 gigatons by carbon capture and storage, optimistically. Rest we have 21.5 gigatons of CO2. Therefore, it requires at least the same amount of olivine, or approximately 2 trillion tons, to absorb all carbon dioxide released since the beginning of Industrial Revolution. Is it feasible? Let's compare, say, with coal. This is the most extracted resource in the world, and its annual extraction is 8 gigatons. Hence, we should extract almost 3 times more olivine than coal to absorb all CO2 emitted annually. What is the possible environmental impact of olivine mining in this scale? How many land ecosystems may suffer due to olivine quarries works? Many. In addition, soil stores around 2.5 gigatons of pure carbon. Some of it may be excessively released due to mines development. As the reaction of olivine performs the best in salt water, we will have to put 23.5 gigatons on the ocean bottom annually, or at least 2 trillion tons overall to sequester all CO2. Moreover, this performance is possible if the rock is grinded to the sieve-sized particles, around 10 to 50 microns. At the same time, research concluded that iron-rich olivine rather releases CO2 than bonds. It means that only magnesium-rich olivine is needed, which has to be separated. Grinding and separation of gigatons of rock will require astonishing amount of energy and labor. How likely only renewable energy be used for these purposes? Rather unlikely. Imagine 2 trillion tons is the weight of 6 Everest-sized mountains, which have to be buried in the ocean to absorb all CO2 emitted by humankind. And even if we bury all this dust on the ocean bottom, what may be the consequences of it? How will it impact marine ecosystems at all, and ocean bottom life in particular, as well as on the land? This impact is not studied. The funny thing is that some scientific articles still conclude the feasibility of this method. Unfortunately, there are no ecological considerations behind these figures. Moreover, authors of the article say that feasibility of olivine weathering allows continuing fossil fuels usage. It may create a misrepresentation that fossil fuel is okay, and we may go on using it, regardless their hazardous impacts not related to carbon emissions. So, what can we conclude? Climate change has no single solution. We will have to act in multiple ways to cope with it. First, reduce emissions. Second, increase carbon capture and storage, both by recovering ecosystems and developing artificial methods of carbon dioxide removal. In this regard, olivine weathering can be helpful to some extent. But relying only on this method cannot be a panacea, as the new gigantic industry surpassing even coal triple will definitely damage the planet with unpredictable consequences. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Good luck and be sustainable.